Open any language app, and the first thing it does is count. Words learned, a streak of them, 5,000 to fluency, the box promises, as if the language were a jar you fill to a line. It is the most reasonable measure there is, mostly because it is the only one you can see. But you can carry 10,000 words and still freeze at a counter abroad, the sentence forming a half-second too late, always one beat behind the person in front of you. And a 4-year-old with a few hundred words never freezes at all. The difference is not the size of the store, it is the speed of the reach. So, this is about what fluency actually is. Not a vocabulary you own, sitting in storage, but something your mind does, faster than thought, every waking second in the language you already speak. And about why the only way to build it looks, from the outside, like doing almost nothing. Start with the language you already have. Right now, hearing this, you are not really listening. You are running ahead of me. You can feel, before the sentence is over, more or less where it is going to land. You do it out loud all day. You finish a friend's sentence and they laugh because you got it right. You answer the question before the waiter has finished asking it. The words leave you before the other person reaches them because you had already arrived. And when it slips in a way that gives the whole game away. You mishear a word and swear you heard the one you expected, not the one that was actually said. Your guess was louder than the sound. That is how far out in front it runs. Notice that none of this feels like effort. You have never once sat down and tried to understand English. It simply arrives, whole, the instant it is spoken. You take that for granted because it has always been free. That arriving is fluency. Not the list of words you could produce if someone put you on the spot. The speed at which the right one turns up when you are not even asking. Fluency is not something you have. It is something your mind does under the floor of your attention. So where does that ability come from? Think of a song you have heard 100 times, a favorite, worn smooth with playing. You cannot name its key. You could not write down a single bar of it. And yet you know exactly what comes next, every time, a half second before it sounds. It was not always like that. The first time through, you caught the surface and little else. The hook, the chorus, the parts that grabbed you. You did not know where it was going. You trailed a step behind it the whole way. Then you played it again, and somewhere in there, without ever deciding to, you stopped following the song and started leading it. The next line began arriving in you before the singer reached it. The key change you now brace for. You learned all of it and analyzed none of it. And here is the strange part. Even now, 100 plays later, the song can still hand you something you had missed. A line beneath the line, a turn you never caught. Knowing what comes next does not close the music off. It is the thing that finally opens it. That anticipation, the next phrase, already waiting in you before it lands, is the whole of it. It is what people mean when they say they know a piece by heart. Not that they can recite the notes, that they can feel where it is going. A language is the same instrument, played on a longer scale. A sentence is a phrase of music. You become fluent in it the moment you can feel where it is going before it arrives, by the same means and no other. Not by analyzing the score. By hearing it until it is part of you. Nobody learns a song from sheet music they have never heard. They learn it by ear, by playing it until it plays itself. There is no other door in, there was never going to be. So why does counting words feel like progress when it buys so little? Picture the learner who memorized the entire deck. Every card turned, every meaning correct at the kitchen table. Then a real conversation starts, and not one of those words will come. A word learned on a card arrives as a lookup. You hear it, reach back for the meaning, fetch it, set it down. All of that takes a moment, and a moment is the one thing a conversation will not give you. By the time you have the word, the sentence has moved on without you. A word you have met 100 times in the middle of things arrives another way entirely. It needs no fetching. It is already there, hung with a dozen moments where you heard it, carrying its own warmth. You do not retrieve it. It shows up, the way the next line of the song shows up. This is why a 4-year-old with 300 words runs rings around an adult with 10,000. Every word the child owns is a lived word, met in the world, soaked in use. None of them need fetching. The adult has the bigger store and the slower reach, and the reach is the only part a conversation can feel. So you are not building a bigger dictionary. You are wearing grooves. Every time a word comes round again, in new company, the groove runs a little deeper and the reach a little shorter, until, one day, the word simply slides out on its own, unasked. The goal was never a taller pile of words. It was a shorter path to the ones you already have. Depth, not size. The same few thousand words, worn so smooth that reaching for them stops feeling like reaching at all. Which makes the method almost embarrassingly plain. Every episode you watch is one more pass over the same grooves. You are not stacking new cards on a pile. You are hearing the language until you begin to predict it. You do not have to do anything but follow along. The prediction builds itself out of repetition and context, with no strain on your part, exactly as it did for your first language and for every song you love. The work happens whether you grit your teeth at it or not, so you may as well not. And then, on some ordinary day, it shows itself. You catch yourself finishing a Spanish sentence in your head a half second before the speaker gets to the end of it. You were not trying. It simply arrived, the way the next line of a song arrives. That small flicker is the entire machine, running. After that, it spreads. The half second stretches to a full one. The flickers come closer together, then run into one another, until following the language is no longer something you do, but something that happens to you, the way English happens to you now. Fluency was never the size of what you know. It is the speed of what arrives. And the only way to make it arrive faster is to listen until the next word is already on its way, before you have thought to go looking for it. That's the whole idea behind lingua mama. You don't force a language into your head, you let it in. Watch, listen, understand, and the speaking takes care of itself, the way it did when you were small and no one handed you a grammar book. 20 quiet minutes a day is plenty, but there's no ceiling on it. So if it's washing over you nicely, stay as long as you like. The more you let in, the more there is to find. Come back tomorrow. The language is already in there. We're only here to help you uncover it.